The hour is at hand. This is how I actually look. We got some adhesive. I don't know. I don't know if the picture is gonna get any better. It's been duct taped for a little while. Actually, I'm gonna get y'all some alcohol. I'm gonna wipe y'all down with some alcohol because I love you guys. Toilet paper. It's a little better. Oh, my neck. I better put some ice on it. Put some ice on it. Had to put some fucking ice on it. If you're viewing this, that means that you're a member of a doomsday cult, and the FBI will soon be paying you a visit. You could drop one of us in the comments below just to make it a little bit easier for him, if you want. So anyway, I know it's been a while. I'm still the same guy, only now I'm just a lot fucking stupider. And not only that, but I also have no fucking idea about anything in the world. Well, now that we've gotten our 58 seconds of introductory material out of the way, having said absolutely nothing, let's get into the current state of affairs, shall we? Hold on, I gotta put my news broadcasting hat on, because when I put that thing on, I am not a credible threat in any way whatsoever to not only members of the government, but also members of the capitalist ruling class. Everybody is perfectly safe. There is no danger. So the situation was pretty bad in last week's video from 3 years ago. Let's take a look at how things have improved. So in the last video, I was pretty upset about the Department of Homeland Security's crackdown on misinformation, as I worried it was a threat to freedom of speech. But since then, luckily, the Christians have won the election, and freedom of speech has once again been restored to the American people. Here's Ben Shapiro.
Well, meanwhile, President Trump is using his executive power to also go after the universities, and that is what he is doing yesterday.
We put out the executive order, additional measures to combat anti-Semitism. The goal here would be
league institutions. It does not make illegal free speech. I know there are a lot of people who are saying that. That is not what it does. That is not what it's designed to do. President Trump would not do that. That is not what it is designed to do. Instead, what it is designed to do is go after the universities.
He's not taking away free speech. He's going after. He's going after it. He's not taking it away. You gotta know President Trump. You know, he's going after it. You're not allowed to criticize our greatest ally, okay? It's like yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. You just can't do it, okay? You really gotta understand the nuance when it comes to Israel and Jewish people. You really gotta understand the nuance of yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. One thing I really liked about that Ben Shapiro clip was that little smug snicker, that little bit of a little chuckle he puts in there when he's explaining. That little smug, little fucking...
That is not what it does. That is not what it's designed to do.
I was trimming the clip where I say snicker. I'm gonna cut that S a little bit short at first. Just for a second, that one bit of audio rang out like the gunshot heard around the world. It's like the unforgivable sin. It's like blaspheming the Holy Spirit. It feels like, just to me, personally, hearing that. So we all know this guy, Elon Musk, king of the retards, but what if there's actually something to this guy? Could he actually be a Nazi? I know this news is like a month old, but trust me, we're going somewhere with this.
Thank you.
We're about to go woke, and we're going to put a pause on being based for a moment. If you are a believer in coincidences, stick around on the channel. The more time you spend here, the less you will believe in them. It is part of my personal mission to eradicate the erroneous belief in the coincidence. So with that being said, let's begin weaving a narrative here. For the sake of the video, let's begin with Nazi Germany. Beginning with one Mr. Werner von Braun, a Nazi scientist who came to America during Operation Paperclip, which basically was an operation carried out by our government where we took 1,600 Nazi scientists and brought them over to work for us, effectively sparing them from ever having to answer for the crimes that they committed against humanity. In the flesh, at least, that is. Not before God, of course.
We were bad, but now we're good. We're moving into your neighborhood.
Right, I'm sure they stopped being Nazis after that. So anyway, in 1953, Werner von Braun, who, coincidentally, as a teenager was pen pals with the American rocket scientist Jack W. Parsons, who, if you've seen the Plankton video on this channel, you already know a little bit about. We'll talk about him more in a minute. But anyway, in 1953, Werner von Braun wrote a novel called Project Mars, where the leader of the colonization effort for Mars is called Elon. And he was a member of an occult order called the Thule Society, which, the more I explain the beliefs of the Thule Society, the more familiar these beliefs are going to sound, because you can find them on the History Channel after midnight. You can find them being propagated by the CIA, any of the spooks that are going around making their rounds on Patriot podcasts. You can find them espoused by those who exist in the sphere of what's now come to be known as the New Age. But most interestingly, to me at least, where this originates from, and you may not like this, but it is Scientology. I fell asleep, power went out, the show must go on. So yes, the extraterrestrial origin myth, the alien god ideology propagated by the History Channel or any of the other innumerable state-sanctioned media outlets, finds its head in Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. And where did he get it from? Nazi esotericism, the Thule Society. So, the origin myth of the Thule Society is that in the constellation of Taurus, orbiting the star Aldebaran, there is a solar system inhabited by an advanced race of these blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Aryan aliens. A cataclysm occurs in the Aldebaran solar system. They flee, they come to our solar system, and they land on Mars, where they then establish a civilization only to once again destroy themselves through the use of technology, making the planet uninhabitable, having to flee again, this time landing on planet Earth. And thus you have the origins of the white race. That is, only if you are a treacherous, gullible retard. Now, of course, having just defeated the Nazis in a brutal and bloody war, the American people had a little bit of a distaste for Nazism. So in order to make this alien god mythology slop suitable for Western consumption, it was going to need to undergo some rebranding. This is where our friends L. Ron Hubbard and Jack W. Parsons come in, under the tutelage of one Aleister Crowley. So we all know Aleister Crowley, the Great Beast 666. He was an occultist who started the religion of Thelema, which is basically the inverse of Christianity. It basically takes all of the bad guys from Christianity and deifies them. This can be seen, for example, in his Thoth tarot deck, where rather than strength, we have lust, accompanied by a depiction of none other than the great harlot Mystery Babylon, who is worshipped by all the kings of the earth. It is a beautiful deck nonetheless, and it was a gift given to me by my dear friend Cat Gobbler Meme Doppler, who is likely watching this. I love you, dog. So while the Thule Society's Aldebaran myth is very similar to the creation myth of Scientology, I bring that up more so to focus on some of the works of L. Ron Hubbard. Namely, something that occurred while him and his friend Jack W. Parsons were working together on Aleister Crowley's Babylon working ritual. These three guys worked very hard in the 1940s and 50s in occult dealings to try to trigger the biblical book of Revelations, thinking that somehow their side was going to win. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is literally what they were trying to do. This is what the Layman is about, and you could read it here in Jack W. Parsons' Manifesto of the Antichrist that he wrote. So do you see where I'm going with all this? Jack W. Parsons is largely accredited for creating NASA. L. Ron Hubbard is responsible for taking the Nazi alien god origin myth and rebranding it and making it palatable for Americans, in the form of Scientology and the New Age. Both of whom are students of Aleister Crowley, the Great Beast 666, whose life work was to bring about the biblical end of the world, on the side of the Antichrist. You could believe it, you could not believe it, I don't give a fuck. This is what they're telling you, they're not hiding it. Black coffee. Ray Pete drank 30 to 50 cups of coffee a day. You remember with the cult, this right here should be at the bottom of your food pyramid. This is not a bit, you should be coffee maxing. There are no negative side effects. I love this mug. It is my favorite mug. So Crowley's life mission is to be the devil's top guy. So he makes contact with an entity by the name of Lamb. Long before the popularly depicted archetype of the gray alien ever enters the mind of the collective consciousness, Crowley makes contact with this fucking thing. I think it says something along the lines of, today they call us demons and angels, but tomorrow they'll call us something else. And that something is obviously... So let's get back to the Babylon working rituals. They were a series of rituals carried out in 1946 by Jack W. Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, an invocation of the Thelemic deity Babylon, who is, of course, the antagonist from the Christian book of Revelations, the false religion of the Antichrist, which is, of course, materialistic scientism capstoned by the belief that humanity is the result of alien god progenitors. Now, an interesting part of the Babylon working rituals is the invocation of Aleister Crowley's concept of the Moonchild. Admittedly, I've not read the Moonchild in its entirety. I wanted to do so before I made this video, but I felt strongly compelled to hurry up and get this thing done. So I'm going to elaborate on what I know about the Moonchild, and if it's something I don't know, then I'm just going to make it up. That was a joke. That was fucking stupid. No, okay, so The Moonchild is a fictional book which occultists from the 20th century have been known to do this, like Dion Fortune has historically done this. They'll write fiction, but it'll actually be, like, true occultism. And one of the villains is, like, based on Arthur Edward Waite in the Moonchild. He's called Arth Waite. Like, come on. Crowley had beef with Arthur Edward Waite, the one that made this, the Smith-Waite Tarot. They're both members of the Golden Dawn. There's a lot of Golden Dawn beef going on. William Butler Yeats kicked Crowley down the stairs. I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. Crowley had a lot of beef, I mean, understandably so. So anyway, the Moonchild is the incarnation of a very powerful ego, born under very unique lunar circumstances. So they do the invocation of the Moonchild in January of 1946. 6 months later, the perfect circumstances arise. A blood moon lunar eclipse. June 14th of 1946, the incarnation of a very powerful ego under the perfect lunar conditions, the perfect blood moon lunar eclipse. It is said that the beast would deceive even the most elect. Even the Christians would have to fall for this guy. He would suffer a wound to the head, but by miraculous circumstances, he would survive. Luckily for us, it was a big nothing burger. Nothing ever happens. Can y'all hear that rain? It's pouring. Hang on, let me Google something.
Take a look what happened.
And so we have the real-world incarnations of Werner von Braun's Elon and Aleister Crowley's Moonchild. And they're on a team. Something that Neville Goddard has famously spoke about is that there is no such thing as fiction. Since I was a kid, it's like every Christian that I've ever met has known that the mark of the beast was going to be some kind of microchip implant. Who's the one doing that?
That's an awfully hot coffee pot.
So we've tracked this spiritual current through the past. Now we're going to follow it into the future, because that's what's more important. Hold on. Don't fucking look at me. Don't fucking... If humanity is in fact the result of alien god progenitors coming and messing with our DNA and leveling us up through genetic modifications, if technology is the only thing distinguishing us from monkeys, then it would stand to reason that the next phase of human evolution would also be through technology. So it starts with basic mRNA, gene-altering... Can I say the V word? Fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg. Got me censoring myself. I gotta think about what if I'm allowed to say a word that we use to describe 2021's safe and effective medical treatment. You know what I'm talking about. It starts with that bullshit. And the next thing it's Elon Musk putting a fucking cell phone in your brain because that's how humanity evolves, to these morons. Because they've cut themselves off from their ancestors, they have no knowledge of spiritual science, they have no knowledge of how humanity evolves, and they're being pimped out by spiritual retards from the 8th sphere. This spiritual impulse was brought into the world largely by somebody who ate poop. Transhumanism is poop eating. If you're a transhumanist, you're a poop eater. Period. Okay, I'm getting off my high horse. It is taught in the mystery schools that the very purpose for life on Earth is the evolution of consciousness. We materialize and we spiritualize. We materialize and we spiritualize. And you are the culmination of millions and millions of years of evolution. It's 222. If you knew how much care and time went into perfecting your DNA, into making it the beautiful and perfect expression of God that it is, you wouldn't be messing with it. You'd leave it right the way it is. Evolution is inner. It has to be inner. Anything else is going backwards. And not only does humanity materialize and spiritualize, but the whole planet does, all together. So there was a time where the whole world was just more dreamlike. We are at the limit of contraction, of materiality. You cannot read ancient texts from the same materialistic viewpoint that we have today. The world wasn't the way it is today. So these retarded, and when I say retarded, I mean going backwards in evolution. I know it's a silly word. So these retarded spiritual entities would love nothing more than for you to keep that materialist viewpoint when interacting with them, despite the fact that they're spiritual beings, but they're going backwards in evolution, and they're trying to pull you into the same thing because they're feeding off of you. So they've really got people walking around believing that the biblical angels are aliens and that the Sumerian origin myth are aliens. The most perverted shit that I've heard was Billy Carson say that ISIS was a human who gave birth to a fucking alien human hybrid monstrosity. And it's not a joke, okay? You were warned. You read the book of Revelations, you have one job, and it's to not take the mark of the beast. They're gonna put the pressure on you. They're gonna turn your loved ones against you. You have one fucking job. You are a beautiful, divine, spiritual being gaining the experience of humanity. And you are worth so much more than anything that the kingdom of Babylon has to offer you. Any job, any amount of money, any fame and fortune. You are worth way more than that. And what good is it for a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Schizophrenic. There's a gene for schizophrenia. It could be turned off or on.
Right.
The worship gene, which they don't want to put on the Google, they could turn that off and on. It can be, maybe that's why I'm not religious. My switch, I turn mine is off, you know? And all these various things in the body, switching on and off different genes. If you got a gene for...
Find the worship gene. Let's just ask Google.
If you have a gene for multiple sclerosis,
right.
What if you turn that off?
Yes. Some of them are dormant. Yeah.
Right. So if they can master, this is another key to, quote unquote, a version of immortality.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to master switching genes off and switching genes on. Now, all of a sudden, we're not coming down with these crazy illnesses and diseases because those genes will never be activated. Because once we learn how to master accessing our junk, quote unquote, junk DNA, we will be able to control the gene expressions. And once we can control them, then sky's the limit. Forget the universe is the limit.
Wow. According to the God gene hypothesis, spirituality has a genetic component. The VMAT2 gene is one component of this, contributing to sensations associated with mystical experiences.
There you go.
It's crazy because in 1917, Rudolf Steiner warned of this exact thing. Steiner is another person that I touch on in the Plankton video, but we'll talk about him a little bit more. He was another 20th century occultist who I think quite highly of. He was the founder of anthroposophy, and his cosmology, specifically his work on the spirits of Ahriman, ties right into everything that we're talking about. So I'm just going to go ahead and play an excerpt from a reading of one of his 1917 lectures that explicitly warns of everything that our friend Billy Carson just described.
On the other hand, the spirits of darkness are now among us. We have to be on guard so that we may realize what is happening when we encounter them and gain a real idea of where they are to be found. The most dangerous thing you can do in the immediate future will be to give yourself up unconsciously to the influences which are definitely present. for it makes no difference to their reality whether they are recognized or unrecognized. It will be the main concern of these spirits of darkness to bring confusion into the rightful elements which are now spreading on earth, and need to spread in such a way that the spirits of light can continue to be active in them. They will seek to push these in the wrong direction. I have already spoken of one such wrong direction, which is about as paradoxical as is possible. I have pointed out that while human bodies will develop in such a way that certain spiritualities can find room in them, the materialistic bent, which will spread more and more under the guidance of the spirits of darkness, will work against this and combat it by physical means. I have told you that the spirits of darkness are going to inspire their human hosts, in whom they will be dwelling, to find a vaccine that will drive all inclination towards spirituality out of people's souls when they are still very young. And this will happen in a roundabout way through the living body. Today, bodies are vaccinated against one thing and another. In future, children will be vaccinated with a substance which it will certainly be possible to produce, and this will make them immune so that they do not develop foolish inclinations connected with spiritual life.
So this is obviously the direction that we're rapidly speeding in. All of that weird stuff that occurred in the early 2020s is just a small taste of it. They're going to do it again, and much worse. That was a practice run, okay? That was a practice run. If you failed the first initiation, good news. You're going to get a second opportunity to stand on your autonomy. We're not taking any weird fucking medical injections that aim to subvert the trajectory of human evolution. It's not happening. We're not doing it. So let's talk a little bit more about Ahriman. Ahriman. To understand Ahriman, you have to know his equally destructive counterpart. I know him very personally, and you probably know him too. They call him Lucifer. Yes, that one. Kinda. He is the manifestation of the spiritual principle that makes people go crazy. You can listen to my albums, The Insurrection from Heaven Collection Volumes 1 and 2, on SoundCloud if you want to get to know him really well. He will let you peer through the illusion of the material world and then prevent you from ever doing anything with your life because it's fucking evil, dude. Now, the way I put it in the Plankton video is he is the spiritual principle that breeds spiritual escapism and religious psychosis, and at his worst, he brings about violent upheaval of the social order. Don't act like you don't have your own friggin' demons. And that's Lucifer. Very fiery. The problem with Lucifer is the same problem with fire. It's fine if it's in a fireplace. It's fine if you're using it to cook something. It may even light the path forward. He is the light bringer. But when something catches on fire, all the potential energy within it is released, and it loses all of its molecular integrity. It turns into dust. If Lucifer had his way, this would be the fate of every molecule in the material universe. And that is not conducive to spiritual growth. Yes, very Gnostic. This is why in the Plankton video, it's 111. 111 a.m. This is why in the Plankton video, we syncretize Ahriman with the Demiurgos of Gnosticism. It works quite well. We don't have to go over all that again. I encourage you to go watch the Plankton video if you haven't. I explain it pretty well in that video. But anyway, back to Ahriman. Ahriman is the complete opposite. So Ahriman is the manifestation of materialistic blindness. The belief in only the five senses. Ahriman coagulates, Lucifer dissolves. Galahad Eridanus, whose work I mess with heavily, assigns Lucifer and Ahriman to the two snakes on the legs of Abraxas, one being madness and the other being blindness. In my painting, here, which I have prints available of, also the original is for sale, Toybox gets burnt at the stake while Lucifer watches on the right and Ahriman watches on the left. Lucifer is in red, symbolizing the Martian principle, while Ahriman is in black, symbolizing the Saturnian principle. These colors are reflected in the jester, symbolizing their connections to the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So if you want to know what left-right brain cohesion looks like, look to the sky, symbolized by the dove, because Jesus Christ is the only balance between those two extremes. It's been so long since I've started this video, let's get right back into the news. I haven't been following any of this, so I'm going to do a very bad job at explaining it, and I'm not going to have any idea what I'm talking about. Clout goggles on, social contract off. So from what I understand, Donald Trump just slapped his big beautiful ball sack right on the desk of Mike Johnson. They were full of pee. No step. No step. The no step was a gift from Dono. Love you, dog. So basically, the barely breathing, butt-knocking bozos in our government are spending billions to make our country worse. For example, section 43,201 of the bill makes it so that no governmental body can enforce any regulation regarding the development of AI for the next 10 years. It also takes like all of the money that we give to elderly poor people and gives it to ICE instead. While we're on the topic of ICE, they're also talking about suspending habeas corpus, which basically, if you don't know, habeas corpus makes it so that you can't be detained or thrown into jail without actually being charged with a crime. Lincoln controversially and tyrannically suspended habeas corpus, and he used it to imprison journalists who spoke out against his war, which killed 2% of the population. Threw him right into jail. So now the White House wants to do it again. But don't worry, they're only going to use it to round up all the Mexicans. Surely they're going to stop there. Surely they would never use it on you.
Talked about potentially suspending habeas corpus to take care of the illegal immigration problem. When could we see that happen, do you think?
Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at. Look, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not.
So that's your White House Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, who is not a Christian, by the way, which is the most important part, is that he's not a Christian. Doesn't matter what religion he is, okay? Don't bother looking into what religion he is. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that he is not a Christian, obviously. And they're reopening Alcatraz. Yes, because with all of the country's prisons, and despite making up only 5% of the world's population, yet accounting for 25% of all the world's prisoners, it just isn't enough. And we need a concentration camp. You want drivable roads? You want a high-speed rail system? Go fuck yourself. We're building a concentration camp. Not to sound too woke on y'all, but the Trump is literally Hitler people may have actually been right. Look, you're allowed to poke fun at the Jews, okay? You're allowed to speak out against Palestinian genocide, but the Nazi shit is fucking wicked and dark. Anybody who professes themselves to be a Christian and is fucking around with this Nazi shit needs a wake-up call, because Christianity and Nazism are not in any way compatible. And in the 3rd chapter of Galatians, you're told, in heaven there's neither Gentile nor Jew. And in the epistle to Titus, you're told not to argue about genealogies. And Hitler hated Christians. He thought that it was a Jewish conspiracy to make people weak and docile. So you either agree with Jesus or you agree with Hitler. And I'm not here to cancel you. I'm not here to shame you. All that I'm here to do is point you to this. Donald Trump is not a Christian. Elon Musk is not a Christian. Hitler hated Christianity, and all of this comes from the same occult impulse that was brought into the world by the Great Beast 666. This is all Aleister Crowley, Book of Revelations shit. This is not a conspiracy theory, okay? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. What I am is an occultist, and I'm explaining the manifestation of spiritual impulses in our world. Some of them are helpful to you, and some of them are harmful to you. And this right-wing, esoteric Hitlerism, Elon Musk, technocracy, Ahrimanic shit is harmful. And you're going to end up with a laptop in your back pocket and an awfully hot coffee pot if you don't knock it off. I could go on and on and on about all this stuff, because the thing is that everything in the world is connected with everything else in the world. But I've been yapping for a half hour, so I'm going to wrap it up. The video took mad long to make. That's why I got like 10 different outfits on, because I recorded it over like so many different days. Like, I've been working on this video for like months, because I work on it and I stopped working on it. I got a job, and I have a girlfriend who I love very much with all my heart somehow. I know all this stuff probably makes me seem like an incel, But this is stuff that's just been like, I've just been thinking about it, since the election. Like, people have really let their guard down, and it's like a Trojan horse, really. This conservatism is like, nationalism is not going to save you. Nothing is going to stop what is coming. That's the whole thing, is that you have to develop an inner relationship with God, and the whole world is going to be in turmoil, and it's going to be crumbling around you, and you have to find peace within yourself, and you need to be like in the eye of the storm. Donald Trump folks like to say there's no stopping what is coming. They're right. There's no stopping this. You're not voting your way out of the fucking apocalypse. I may make another video. I love talking about this stuff. Like, I'd love to just have y'all come up with like anything you want me to talk about, any questions you have, because like I really do feel like I can answer them about this stuff. Just be alert, be aware, don't be scared. The kingdom of heaven is within you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not all doom and gloom. I know it seems all scary and everything, but 365 times is the phrase, be not afraid, in the Bible. If there's one thing the writers of scripture want you to get into your head, it's that there's nothing to fear. Not even the devil himself. So anyway, thank you all for listening to me yap. I love you all a lot. Thank you for watching. God bless you all. Peace.